Yeah, hi there, this is tuxauto.com. Welcome on my video channel. Today in this little video I want to talk a little bit about hard drives, SSD drives, and the even faster M2 SSD drives you can buy now for around 150 euros for a terabyte drive. And the answer to the question why I don't want to buy such an M2 SSD for my system. For my system, mainly using Lightroom for images and Vinci Resolve for videos, I have a dedicated SSD drive for the rendering cache for Vinci Resolve, and of course the cache for Lightroom and Photoshop. That's a 500 gigabyte drive, and it's around 450 and up to 500 megabyte per second fast. So the question was if I could even get a little bit more speed into the rendering process, especially when rendering videos, if I would install for the rendering cache an M2 SSD drive. And so I started DaVinci Resolve, and with a little bit of help with the task manager, I got the following results. Okay, here we got a video preparing it for rendering. We change the name of the output file, check those settings, put it into the render queue and start render. And now we start the task manager. And after the intro clip is rendered and we go to the regular clip, you will result in the SSD delivering about 100 or 95 megabyte per second, and it will stay this way. And as you recognize here on the top, the CPU is around 90% or 95-85% around that rate. Okay, here we got a second setup, rendering a 4K video. In the render queue, start to render, and of course we have to confirm overwriting the old file I did for testing purposes. And now we start the task manager, but here you can see that the video clips are stored on the drive H, which is displayed 2 times here in the task manager because it's a RAID 0 device. And as you can see here, the delivery of data is quite lower than before on the SSD, but the CPU usage is around 90%, 95, 80%, 85% around that rate. As you could see here in the results with the task manager, the SSD drive, which is the dedicated drive as a render cache for DaVinci Resolve, just delivers about the files in a speed of 100 or 110 megabyte per second. And that's far below the possible speed of this SSD drive. So I think in my system, okay, it's a Ryzen 1700X. That's a little bit older CPU, but it's a 8-core CPU, and the CPU, if you render video clips here on this system, is powered up almost to 90-95%. From the results you saw here from the desktop PC, it wouldn't make much sense to install an M2 SSD drive in my system, and I wouldn't speed up the process. So the codecs H.264 and H.265, the CPU is probably the bottleneck, and to give the SSD drive a little bit more to do, or at least I hoped so, I tried the same with the Lumix G9 files, filmed in 10-bit video, and then I converted them to ProRes HiQ files. So the resulting project folder was from 7 gigabyte video clips up to 48 gigabyte of video clips after converting them into ProRes high-Q files. But even then, the SSD cache drive just was pulled to 110 megabyte per second. Okay, the CPU power was only needed for around 70%. That was a little bit different, but according to these results, at least in my system, in M2 SSD wouldn't make sense at all. So maybe you post into the comments if you bought an M2 SSD drive for your system and if you really occurred a gain in speed rendering your video clips, or if you still stick with the regular SSD drive, which to me I think are fast enough for most of the systems. If you have any questions to this, you might post them into the comments to this video or in the comments to the corresponding blog post. And if this video was a little bit helpful for you, you might think about placing a like on this video. And of course, I would be happy if you subscribe my channel, but then don't forget to hit the bell here so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. Okay, that was all for today about the topic SSD drive, or in particular M2 SSD drives. I have to say till the next time, ciao, Tux Oche.